Welcome to Juhl Media live podcast. My name's Ching Juhl. Today, I'm so pleased to introduce our guest, Nora Armani, who is a actress, also who is a producer, film festival founder, a great cook, and she wears so many different hats. Welcome. Hi, Nora. How are you?
Hi, it's wonderful to be here again with you.
Thank you. Yeah, great
Thank
to see
you.
you. Thanks for being with me. So, we have known each other for a while, and I know you are incredible actress. I went to many of your shows. So, tell us a little bit about your latest project and also how the road from beginning to here, how you became an actress.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, the latest production I did, which is the one you saw as well, one of the ones you saw, and you filmed as well, for which I was so happy and thankful, was about the migrations behind the Iron Curtain after the Second World War. A lot of people with the ideas of communism to be the thing that will save the world believed in these noble ideas and went to live behind the Iron Curtain and do something and build the homeland or whatever. And then, of course, it was a terrible, terrible surprise because these were the Stalin years and they couldn't have imagined what was awaiting for them. And of course, if you open your mouth and complain, next thing you know, you're in Siberia in some gulag or some prison or what have you, from which many, many people did not return. So the play is the story of two sisters, one of whom went to Armenia and the other remained in the West because she didn't believe. She was older, 10 years older than the younger sister, and she decided not to go. So that was a monologue, one person show, which I am supposed to be picking up again in April. So I have a couple of dates in April in Providence and Boston and probably New Jersey as well in early May. So it would be cool. So follow me on on my social media so you know when it is happening. This is the stage thing. But I also did a film last year, this year, 2023, which is wrapped now, sound mixed, and ready to go to film festivals. And I am due to be filming something else in January. So maybe we can talk about these more in detail down the line. And when it started with me, acting was always a dream. Always, when I was a child, I would imagine and stage these situations, and of course, I would be the star in them and act out, recruiting my cousins, my brother, my everybody else who was younger than me, in the cousins and brothers, sisters everywhere. So, yeah, so it started very early on.
Does anyone in your family are or were actress or actors?
Actually, no, but yes and no. Not in my immediate family, but a cousin from my grandfather's side is the son of my grandfather's sister, was an actor as well. And in fact, he never married. He was completely dedicated to his acting. And even back then, in the society where everybody was clean shaved and nicely dressed, he had long hair and, very artistic looking. So that's the only person that in my family who was an actor. My mother was a violinist, not an actor, and she was part of the choir, of the singing choir, and she had a beautiful voice. But besides that type of artistry, as an actor, she wasn't an actor.
When you were younger, when you want to be an actress, so are there opportunities for you to practice your craft, like say in school or primary school, middle school, high school? So were you involved with any of like theater works?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting you should ask that because it starts at the school level. It takes that one teacher who will discover the, capacity or skill or talent or whatever you want to call it in you, and will decide that, this person has something and encourage you with it. In my case, it happened that at school we used to have this supervisor. He was not teaching a class particularly, but he was a super. And every once in a while, when a teacher was absent, he would step in so that, the students would have somebody with them. And on that particular day, he came to our class and he told us about this competition. It's not really an acting competition, but poetry reciting competition at the Armenian club back in Cairo. And he said, "You should. I think some of you should participate in that." And he started kind of auditioning us, giving us a piece of something to read in front of the class to decide who had the facility. And he picked me. So he said, "You're going to prepare this poem, so on and so forth, and go." And that first year, I um, got third place. I was the third. And then the following year, and then the year after, I was first. So it's so funny that the one of the people who was on the jury ended up being my mother-in-law afterwards. I married her son, who my ex-husband is still a director, stage director, and actor, and so on. So it was quite interesting. Yeah, and that opened that made me take the first steps. And of course, they did some productions at school, which involved dancing and performances. And one time at Sunday school, because I had long dark hair, they put a beard and mustache on me and made me Jesus.
That's funny.
I guess because I was the tallest kid, everybody was shorter. So I could be Jesus and, something like that.
So someone asked me what what kind of quality someone will become a really good musician, and I would say someone has good ear
Yeah.
and someone wants to express how they feel, and someone works really hard, because when you want to play a violin or a viola, it takes so many hours of practicing, and then you need a parent, who whips you. What about being an actor? What would you say? What are the qualities for someone become a good actor or actress?
I think it's very close to music. And I'm very glad you're making the parallel because a lot of actors, I'm preparing something, maybe it will end up like a book because it says, I can walk and talk. Why can't I act? Because with music it's not like that. It's not like because you can go like that on the piano that suddenly you can play the piano. You have to learn the music, the notes, and practice the gams and so on. But in acting, everybody thinks that the moment they can talk and walk, then they can act. Unfortunately, it's not like that. Well, some people have the capacity, and definitely, ear is very important because you have to listen to the other actor. It's very important. They keep saying to you that acting is reacting. It's not just whatever you are doing, because I can do whatever I want to do, but then if it's not in sync with the other actor in the scene, then what is the point? Then you have to listen and react to what is happening. So definitely that. definitely a lot of hard work is important. And another thing I would add, it's the presence. And by presence, I mean not only being there, but it also envelopes the listening part, the observing part, and not be the focus, the concentration part. Very, very important. But like anything else, the hard work and practice is so important, because yes, you might have the facility. Some people might have more facility than others. And of course, it has to do with diction, speech, clarity. How do you pronounce the words? How do you clearly portray your feelings or express yourself? Very, very important. But at the end of the day, it's important to be able to put all this together so that it becomes presentable on stage. And that takes a lot of work.
Yeah, I was thinking again, compared to music, musicians play mostly somebody else's work, and actors, you read pretty much others people's script. Of course, you can write your own script. I just think your the intellectual level and also the reading is so incredibly rich, assuming it's a good literature.
Yeah.
So there is great language in it, right? So that's very fortunate that you're doing Shakespeare, so you have to memorize the whole thing,
Yeah.
and that's very, very awesome job, you know?
Yeah, it is. And you have to read a lot. Just like for a musician, you have to know different types of music, not only just what the music you play. You might have preferences, but you need to know that this exists, that exists, and so on. And I mean, you might not necessarily be a Shakespearean actor, but Shakespeare is amazing in terms of training, not only in terms of the words and the pronunciations and the language and so on, but also the breathing, which is very much, again, we go back to music. The silences and the breaths you take are as important as the notes you hit. So, by the same token, in Shakespeare, when you read Shakespeare's poetry, the breathing spot, the breathing moment is already in there. If you breathe somewhere else, it's not going to work. You have to follow the pattern that Shakespeare has proposed.
And in other words, it's like a right rhythm. You have to have
Yeah.
this rhythm. You
Yes.
you move at the right place, right?
Yeah, and when we're talking rhythm, we don't necessarily mean the cadence, like da la 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 la. I don't necessarily mean like going into the sing-songness of it to
Mm.
keep the rhythm, because that rhythm is inbuilt already. You don't have to emphasize it. And I don't necessarily play a musical instrument in any particular virtuous way. I can bang bang on the piano a little bit, but that's it. And I believe probably it's the same thing in music. You can hit the notes, but what makes it different from playing is how you are linking the notes, where you are taking a breath, where you are letting a beat, where you are playing right after the previous note. So all this is what makes the difference between hitting the notes and producing music. And the same thing with acting, saying the words and actually coming up with beautiful speech or poetry.
For instance, when you prepare your role a few months ago in the film, how specifically do you do it when you receive a script?
Okay, that's interesting, because different parts, different roles have different requirements for a different approach. Like if it's a situation where there is a lot of dialogue, it's important to understand what your relationship is with the other actor. how do you feel about them? Do you love them? Do you hate them? Are they your friend? Are they your enemy? Are you upset at them? Are you happy that they are giving you a piece of news and you are going to react to that and all that? All that makes a huge difference because it's not a scene that you are playing on your own. You are reacting to these people. But there are also situations where, for example, the film I did, there were a lot of situations where it is a monologue, which is not necessarily reacting to the other actor, but giving an overall um, view of the film and the core meaning of what it is all about. Because my character was a character that has come out of the novel and is appearing to the eyes of the person who's reading the novel. So she's not talking to him necessarily, but she's talking in general, in broader terms, and he is there to listen. So that's different. And also, sometimes it's more like a poetic piece, in which case you have to not necessarily worry or think about the other character because there is no other character, but think about the meaning and the depth of the meaning of what you are saying. And very, very important to make very clear and precise substitutions. Like if we are talking about a beautiful garden and you're saying, I walked down that aisle in the garden, the alleyway, and picked up some flowers and so on, whatever, you might be saying something like that. It's very important that you know what is the garden, what time of day it was. Was it cold? Was it hot? Was it raining? Were there other people at that garden? Were you in a hurry? Were you going slow? Did you pick the flowers? What were the flowers? Were they big flowers, small flowers, roses? Um, did they have a smell? Were you happy to pick them, or were you allowed to even pick them, or were you worried that as you're picking the flower, maybe the guard will come and fine you? So all these things are layers, one layer after another, that make a difference in the way how you say, I walked down the alleyways in the garden and picked some flowers to bring to my love, or something like that. So every little word has to have a very clear image for you as an actor.
When you did your solo show, it was so funny. It was so well written, and you act so many different characters. So again, I'm wondering, how did you do that? You do the whole thing. Of course, you wrote it, so you already know the words. Even
Yeah,
if you improvise, it's okay. But are you doing it in your home and just like a like you, because we as a instrumentalist, we just keep playing and playing and playing and playing, but when we do it on stage, the energy is different. It's
absolutely.
different. So how did you prepare?
Totally. So let's make the distinction between my one woman show, which is what you're asking about now, and the other one woman play that I did. This is not about that Soviet play, but this is my own autobiographical piece that I have been touring with, which is called On the Couch with Nora Armani. And that is a play that I wrote myself. And it's kind of autobiographical, which tells about my whereabouts, where I came from, where I was born, and my family, how they met each other, my grandparents, how they connected, and so on and so forth, and the entire background of that story. So some of the stuff is narrated, which means I am talking to the audience, and the audience becomes the other character in my play. So I am interacting with them, and I have to take the audience into consideration. I cannot just come there and da 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 da, da like recite my piece my words without considering the energy that's coming to me from the audience. And it might be different from one night to the other. It might be completely different. So you are absolutely right when you say that as musicians you learn your practice, and then when you are on stage it's a different energy. The same here. When I'm practicing on my own or rehearsing, let's say on my own at home or in a rehearsal room, what I'm rehearsing is where I'm going to say what I'm going to say. Am I sitting here? Am I walking to the other chair? What actions I am doing? And is it a part where I am talking to myself, talking to another imaginary character on stage, or talking to the audience members, addressing the audience members? So I am practicing this so that out of practice and rehearsal, it becomes second nature. So I don't even have to think about it when I'm doing it. But when I am on the stage with the lights on and the audience sitting there listening, then it gets to a higher level of energy. It gets to a different kind of energy. And it might lend itself to certain moments of improvisation, but not necessarily rewriting the script. Because if I improvise the words, then I am off the script. And if there is a stage manager who's going to be hitting a button so that a certain music plays at a certain moment, they'll be completely lost because they will not know, wait a minute, what is she saying now? This is not in the script, So you can't do that. But there are things that happen last minute which surprise us. And those are improvisational moments in terms of reactions, emotions, thoughts that might come. And then I might say, oh, if I take a little pause here or I pause a little longer, it's changing the meaning of my sentence. And I like what I just did because I surprised myself. That is being in the moment, in the present. Because when you are in the moment, you are reacting to what is also around you.
Yeah, there's so gratifying when you perform and the reaction from your audience, especially if it's a comedic, and
Yeah.
it's very, yeah, and you, it just excites you and then you want to do better and be more funny, right? So
Yeah. And also with the comedy, uh, after a while you become used to it, but a well-honed professional actor would know when to stop and let the laughter sink down, because suddenly, and it might come as a surprise because you might not know when they are going to laugh. So
mhm.
that's where you are present and you are listening to the audience. If suddenly you said something which you didn't think was funny when you were rehearsing, but suddenly the audience starts laughing, you have to be prepared to wait until the laugh subsides before you give your next line. Otherwise, the next line would be lost because they won't hear it. So things like this, which come with experience and practice.
Very interesting. Part of actors live and career, their job is to audition, which you mentioned that in the previous session. So tell us a little bit about how do you overcome being rejected?
I don't think there is any actor in the world, regardless of who they are, Meryl Streep, Anthony Hopkins, or you name whoever you want to name, that would not cringe at the thought of audition. Because it's a contradictory practice. What is contradictory about it? A very big Russian Armenian actor, Armen Jigarkhanian, was amazing. And I had the chance to work with him on 3 different films. One time we were waiting for the lights and camera to be fixed. And we were just standing there talking to each other. And he said something to me which stuck. He said, "Don't try to impress anyone." Oh, no, no, please. Not, he didn't say impress. Please anyone, not even yourself. And I'm like, oh my God, that's very deep. Because if I'm not pleasing anyone, then I am just being. I'm in the moment. I'm not doing this so I get accolades. I'm not doing this to impress or please or whatever. And what about not pleasing yourself is very important as well. Because, yes, of course, you have to take pleasure acting. Otherwise, why are you doing it? But not to please yourself in the sense that overindulge. And it might again be very parallel with music, because there, if you go yeah yeah, it's too much, too sugary, too, there is the between that boom 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 hitting the notes, and then whoa, elaborating it too much, then it's one is bad, the other is bad. But if you are in the moment, if you are right at the present, that is the ideal. So when he said that, don't try to please anyone, not even yourself, I go, oh my God, I got to remember that next time. So
You,
it's very difficult, though.
you have a degree in sociology, master's degree from London, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now looking back, do you have a regret? Do you think, like, looking back, do you ever have regrets, say, "Oh, I should have study that as my major to lead the life of today," or you just say, what I get is exactly how helps me to work on my project, or to work on the path of me being an administrator, actress, and producers, and then many many hats.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I am reading this book now with a very important French impresario who knew a lot of important people like Edith Piaf and Colette and Charles Aznavour and Johnny Holiday, and you name it, he knew everybody. And in the book, he's saying something. He said, "What is a successful life?" And his answer was, "A life with no regrets is a successful life." And I'm like, it's very difficult not to have regrets, because at any given moment, it's not so much regret, like you're sitting down and dwelling upon it and making your life hell because there was something you should have done and you didn't, and you are regretting it for the rest of your life. But there is a difference between regretting something and asking yourself the question of what if, or what would have happened if I had taken that road instead of this road. You know, we always ask ourselves these questions. At the final analysis, now where I am in my life and what I do with the film festival, with my choice of projects and my writing and all those things, the fact of having a sociology degree and nonetheless from the London School of Economics and all that is a plus, because it kind of gives me that outlook, the world understanding that makes me a very well rounded person, as opposed to just being an actor. Whereas there is no such thing just an actor, because an actor is supposed to be very knowledgeable, very well read, very backgrounded, and so on and so forth. So I don't regret it. But I do sometimes think that if I had gone to drama school earlier in my life, instead of trying to do it hands on. Like I started acting very early, like when I was 15 years old, I was already on stage. So I learned the craft by doing it, not necessarily by going to a drama school for 2 or 3 years or whatever. and practicing and learning in a closed atmosphere, and then being able to come and present what I'd learned to the audience, I immediately jumped on stage and started presenting to an audience, which, who's to say which one is better? So it's very, very difficult to say, do I regret? I don't think so, because one also has to be take the responsibility for one's choices and what life has thrown in our path. When I got accepted to the London School of Economics, at the same time I had applied to RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London. And I got an answer saying, yes, we like what you have done, and we would love to audition you for potential entry to the course, except we can't do it for September because we're already full. We can audition you in January for the following September. And when you are 23 years old or 22 years old and you are anxious to get going and start your life, a year seems like, oh my God, I'm going to wait a whole year. I'm going to waste a whole year. I want to start my career right away. So, and it's not like I wasn't acting, I was acting. So I felt, and then at the same time I got accepted at the London School of Economics in for to do a master's degree in sociology, and I grabbed that opportunity. So the road was already decided. But throughout the period that I was in London and I was studying sociology, I was also acting. So the acting never really left me.
Awesome. Yeah. So when you teach, I know you now have a master's degree from Hunter and in theater. How would you advise your students who was afraid of being an actor or actress? Yeah, because their whole job is auditioning. And how would you advise them?
Yeah, it's interesting. A very, very good actor friend of mine with whom I used to study accent and diction and voice, he used to say to me, our job as actors is to audition. If we get the part, then that's the cherry on the icing. So if you go with that frame of mind that my job is to audition, I have to go to as many auditions as possible. First of all, going to many auditions does two things very important. First, it makes you become much more at ease with the audition situation. It's not like, oh my God, I have an audition. And then the second thing that happens to you is that you learn how to play the situation. So you're less stressed about it, and also when you have many, it's not like this one chance that you have absolutely got to get. You don't become desperate. You become more relaxed and let it go, and that's when you are hired, when you are less anxious about it. So, for young actors, I would say try to audition as much as possible, even for things that you're not necessarily sure you want to do, because you can always say no at the end and in the end, you know. But it's important to get into the room, it's important to be seen by people, and it's important that word goes around, because casting directors also talk to each other. So if you're seen by someone, they tell, I'm looking for someone like this. They will say, oh, last week I saw someone who wasn't suitable for our thing, but maybe is what you're looking for. But if that person hadn't gone to the first audition, the casting director wouldn't know about them. But of course, by the same token, you don't want to go to things that you are completely wrong for. I'm not going to go for a man who is in his 20s and has a beard, you know,
Or Asian woman
or an Asian woman. I mean, it's not
from
gonna work.
Shanghai. Yeah, yeah. So That's so no, in that sense, auditioning process is a little different from being a musician because in music, especially for orchestra musician, you prepare the same, say, 18 excerpts, and then you go compete. Whoever plays the best and get picked because it's just a fixed. But in acting, I'm yeah, so agree with you said is that you're being found, you're being exposed. If you don't do that, no one knows. And so in that sense, if it's somewhat to match the character, you should just go for it, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes you get a small part, sometimes you get a bigger part, but
Yeah.
it's important to be found.
Absolutely. And small parts, we have to remember that the small part is not a cardboard character. Small part is because only we are seeing the tip of the iceberg of that character, but the character has a lot of other stuff at the bottom. So you have to prepare what is not seen. That's much more difficult to play a small part than to play a big part, because you have to go in and say three lines and already bring something to the table. But if you're only preparing those three lines, you're not going to be able to bring anything to the table. You have to prepare the entire background. You have to understand that this character in another play maybe is the central character, or rewrite the play from the point of view of that two-line character that you are going to play. Because if you do a great job with that and they see that, my God, look at this, it's only two lines and she made them come alive and do something with them, next time they're going to remember you, and then you're going to work your way up. And you're right. The only difference with the music situation audition is that you can look anything. You can be short, long, tall, thin, fat, Asian, Arab, black, white, whatever. If you play like a god, then they're going to take you. But with acting, I can play like a god, but if my look
Yeah,
don't
right,
correspond to what the
right.
character should be, then tough luck. They might remember me for something else. But in that particular situation, I'm not going to be cast. So there is that difficulty.
And it's very interesting as an actor or film actress or actor. That's very interesting. The word of what do you call casting? Like you said, casting a director. I for a long time I didn't understand. Like what do we need to cast director if you're going to audition in front of a director or in front of a lot of people? So tell us a little bit what the
Yeah.
role is a casting director.
Well, the casting director, some people think they are the gatekeeper so that everybody doesn't come and pour their pearls in front of the director or bother the director. But I think the casting director is on our side, on the actor's side. In what way? Um, for example, okay, for example, the director doesn't have much time to see hundreds of people. So the casting director has a very good idea of what this role requires, and of course they're in touch with the director, and the director tells them, "This is what I'm looking for. This is." Sometimes the casting director will propose something that is not exactly within those parameters, but they think it might work because this particular actor is bringing something extraordinary to it. And the casting director goes through all these actors and selects the best suited, talent wise, suitability, age, uh, for the character wise, and so on. And then those are the ones that are introduced to the director and the producer.
So
And the,
should we kiss ass to, to acting casting direct? So they're so important, right?
Yes, very, very important. Casting directors are very important. And it's very important to develop a relationship with casting directors. So, a lot of times, like for example, there was a period of time in my life where I wasn't auditioning as much because I was kind of falling between um, age groups. I wasn't young enough to play the attractive, sexy, young love interest, and I wasn't old enough to play the mature woman. So, in fact, there is a lack of, everybody agrees about this, there between 35, 40 and 55, 60, there's a gap. There are no roles written for women that are between 45 and 55, 60.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
You
sad.
look at the breakdowns, you will see all these young 23 to 30-year-olds, 35, maybe 40 if you look at young 40 years old. But then the next character is in their late 50s, 60s into 70s. So,
Wow.
you know, nobody thinks that there are enough, that's interesting enough, that age range. I don't know why, but that's how it is. So I was kind of in between that period, and I wasn't auditioning as much. And, but I forgot what was your question?
Oh, my question was how important the cast
Yes, yes.
agent
And
was. Yeah.
as I wasn't going around
Uh,
as much, or I wasn't
mm,
auditioning as much, the
yeah.
casting directors didn't even know I existed,
Mm, mm.
you see. But I used to go to seminars and panels and things with casting directors that a lot of actors groups organize. And it's important because they tell you, send us a postcard. Where back then it was postcard, now you have to send them an email if they give you their email address, and or connect with them on social media and let them know that you exist. Now, as I'm getting into that second age range, which I just described, I am getting a lot of auditions, which is a very, very good sign. And what I'm noticing is that between those auditions, there are casting directors that are calling me back. So I may not book the part, but the same casting director has called me to come and audition for
You're
something.
being noticed, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which means if they didn't like me, why would they bother to call me back again? And now I feel like that relationship, which should have been built way back, is now being built. When I lived in California for about 10 years, I did have relationships with local Los Angeles casting directors. But then I went to Europe for 10 years or whatever. Then I came to New York, and that link was interrupted. Many of them are no longer in the profession. Some have passed away because they were much older. So it's, they don't know me. But here in New York now, I am happy to say that thanks to my agents, it's fine and it's developing. A lot of casting directors know at least that I exist.
Let's talk about the film you are working on right now. You are in two films. One is called The Last Wish.
Mm-hmm.
The other is called Absolute Domini. How do you say that?
Yeah.
So
Dominion.
tell us a little bit what kind of role you are in and when these films gonna come out so we can see.
Okay. Absolute Dominion originally was headed for Netflix, but then there has been a change in the production and things which I am not aware of in detail. And it changed hands. Now we are waiting to see where it's going to be broadcast, where it's going to be shown. And I have a very interesting role in it. It's a futuristic film. I'm not supposed to say much more about that because we have signed a
No
non-disclosure agreement.
spoiler,
Yeah,
right? No
but I
spoiler.
have a very prominent role, and I am impatiently waiting for it to come out. It's directed by Lexi Alexander, who is in Los Angeles right now. She's German and Palestinian, and hopefully it will come out soon at some point. The other one, The Last Wish, was shot last February in Spain, and it's directed by Finnish director Rax Rinnekangas, who has made some eight. This, I think, the Last Wish is his ninth feature film.
I interviewed him
Yeah,
a year ago, I think.
you know Rax, of
Yeah.
course.
What
Yes.
a cool person. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool
it
gentleman.
is. And the film is inspired from the Russian Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov novel. It's not about the novel. It is an actor who is having an existential problem, and he leaves in the middle of a production, takes the plane, goes to Mexico, and becomes a telenovela star. And then he receives a letter from his professor, and he says, I don't understand what happened to you. I want to see you before I die. Why don't you come so we can meet? And he goes back to Spain to see his professor, but he arrives a bit too late, and the professor has died. But he has left him a letter saying, pick up the Dostoevsky 1,000-page novel and read each page 3 times. Uh,
That's a lot of work.
a lot of work in a monastery, because that is going to show you, to make you understand yourself. It's the best way of self-discovery. And then you will come every night to my graveside and tell me how your reading is going. So the guy goes and does that. And I don't want to tell the whole film, but this is the premise of the film.
Yeah.
And my character, I played 2 different women who come out of the novel and appear to him and tell him things, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this film is finished. It's wrapped. It's sound mixed and everything, and they are now submitting the film, to different film festivals such as Cannes, Sundance, Berlin, etc. And hopefully, let's see who is going to pick it up.
Wow. Congrats.
Thank you.
Uh,
I'm so
can't wait.
excited
Can't
about.
wait to see him, see his work
Yeah.
and see
Well,
your
actually,
acting.
I have a little clip, but I don't know if we can show it.
Oh, yeah. Why don't you put it in a private chat? Then I get that. You know this private chat next to
Yeah,
you?
but I
Yeah.
have it's the file.
Oh, it's a file. Oh, okay. I don't know how you're gonna play file. I can play the file. So I can. I don't know if you can.
Shall I email it to you?
Email to me, that's possible. Yeah. How big is the file? Like how long is the thing?
Yeah, 3 minutes, but we don't
Oh,
have to play the whole
why
thing.
don't you email me? Yeah, if you can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, in the meantime, I
yeah.
wanted to
In the meantime,
just
ask me another
yeah, I
question.
say something. And now speaking of festivals,
Yeah,
you your you started this festival called Socially Relevant Film Festival New York.
yeah.
Um, it's been next 2024. It's going to be 11th edition. And tell us a little bit how why it's called socially relevant and how this film festival like has changed your last 11 years life.
A lot.
That's a long question.
No, no, no. It's a nice question. I like it. Well, the festival idea, first, let me tell you where the festival idea came from, and then how it has changed my life. The festival idea came from the fact that I was seeing too much violence around. Um, Meaning, like, when you go to the cinema, you see there's too much guns and violence and so on and so forth. What's happening in the world? Um, so One moment, I'm giving you.
Yeah, I'm in my email trying to get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you and I felt we need to provide people with an alternative way of form of entertainment. And what was this entertainment form? It would have been films that do not deal with violence. But then I realized it is a little limited and limiting. So I wanted to open it up to all social issues. And that's where the sociologist in me comes in. And I felt, oh, okay, yeah,
Oh, I think maybe when I try to download, it stops the audio here. So, yeah. Can you hear me?
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. All of a sudden, like it cuts the audio. Yeah. Sorry about that.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yes,
So
so I
you were.
just sent you the file.
I know. I was downloading it, and then it stopped our talking. Yeah, for
Ah,
some reason.
okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically that's what the idea was, to offer people an alternative form of entertainment that stays away from gratuitous violence. And but then a personal incident happened in my life, had happened in my life. My cousin and my uncle were victims of a hate crime, and they lost their lives in it, and I wanted to do something to commemorate them in a meaningful way. So I put the two together and created the Socially Relevant Film Festival, which deals with all sorts of social issues. And the way we decide which social issues are going to be part of this year's program is based on the submissions we get. We don't decide ahead of time. We decide because filmmakers want to talk about this or that or the other issue. And 11 years, at first, it was so crazy to start something like this with no funding, nothing. But then I figured if I don't, I'm going to end up regretting it. So I'm going to go for it and be what may. But already from the second year onwards, people starting to approach us and saying, we want to be part of it because it's such a good idea. We like what you're doing and so on. And of course, I'm not alone in this. I have a team, and something like this cannot be done by one person. It's only the teamwork that brings it together. So the Socially Relevant Festival team members have been around for the 10 years. There are people that who were there from even before the festival started that I knew. And for the past 11, now we are preparing the 11th edition, and we have screened 700 films from 40 different countries. And it has, of course, taken a lot of time and energy from me. And somebody, a casting director I know, she was saying if you put a quarter of the energy you put into the film festival into your acting, you will be working so much more. And that may be true. But at the same time, here, you see, this film that I'm doing, that I just did, came from the film festival because we had programmed a film by Rax Rinnekangas, and that's how I met him, and that's how I ended up being cast in it. So nothing really is lost. Everything comes together to make who you are a complete person.
And speaking of film and your festival, I remember the first one you accepted my film is called Lingering Time.
Yeah.
And it was like 1 hour long, and you said make it to 30 minutes. That's 1 hour is too long. So I recut at 30 minutes. And it was like a really beautiful, and I think if you did not make me making a shorter film, I probably wouldn't like make it more tighter for the festival. So it's like a deadline. It's like a inspiration. It's like a push me. And then I think the 2017 also I showed you a half hour interview of Federico and about a Italian photographer who sits in Palestinian empty empty land just to sit there, and all day long he shoot one picture with a Hasselblad. So you saw that interview, and then you say to me again, make it to 10 minutes. That was brutal. So I made it 10 minutes, added more stuff, added beautiful music. My trio played and added other stuff, not just the interview, which is pretty boring. So yeah, thank you so much for
No, it's
doing that.
true what you're saying, because I do see a lot of times filmmakers submit 2 hour long documentary, for example. And I'm saying, unless you're trying to make a case in court about a particular issue and every minute counts because this is the most important thing, uh, I don't need 2 minutes to know about this subject. And I won't sit and watch 2 minutes. But people fall in love with their work, and especially with documentary. As you know, you
Two
film
hour. Are you talking about 2 hour or 2 minutes?
2 hour.
Two
You
hours.
film so much more, and then you have to reduce all that. That's the most difficult part. But it's very difficult to tell a story in a precise amount of time.
Also practically, film festival, they need a program. From program point of view, they don't want to just 2 hours for you. They only have this much time, so it would be nice to have shorts, say 3 20 minute, and they fit in 1 hour. That's nice, right? So if you unless your film is like a outstanding, and then they can probably they still like 90-minute film instead of 2 hours, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That is very, very interesting what you're saying, because that's why, I mean, right now I have one like that on my hands. I like it very much. It's beautiful, but I'm not going to give it a 2 hour slot, because you have to realize that we still have to do a 10-minute Q&A. We still have to get the audience out. We still have to get the other audience in. It's not the only film in the festival, but if it's a good subject and the film is good, I will take the liberty of writing to the filmmaker and saying, do you have a shorter version?
Yeah,
So
that's great. Yeah.
somebody is asking a question.
Yeah, Shark FinTech is asking question. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay,
What
it
has
says
been Nora's most challenging role as an actress, stage or screen? Challenging, I don't know what they mean by challenging.
challenging role like yeah, that
Well,
yeah.
I don't think that it was challenging, but like I have played Helen Weigel, who is Brecht's wife, Bertolt Brecht's wife, in a production in London, which was called Plebeians Rehearse the Uprising by Gunter Grass. And in it, she plays two characters, because she plays his wife, because there are scenes where they are in themselves. And there are scenes in which they are rehearsing Shakespeare's Coriolanus, and she is playing Volumnia in it. So it was the character playing a character inside the play, which is happening in 1950s. So that was one of the bigger challenges. And I'm so proud of it, because it was the 101st anniversary of Helen Weigel's birth, actually, that year. And every night when I went into my dressing room, I would pray to her and say, come and inhabit my body and become me, so that through this body you can exist. And I think she did, because there was the translator of her works into English, and he was there, and he said it was incredible, because when you entered the stage, I had goosebumps. I thought it was Helen Weigel entering the stage. And I said, wow, that is such a huge compliment. But maybe she did come and inhabit me to be able to exist. And the other major situation that I can describe, one time I went to see a play directed by a friend of mine, which was basically readings or performances, actually, from Anais Nin's work. It was a collage, and all these characters were talking about their the different situations of her work. I mean, the different segments from her work. And I was sitting there with another friend waiting for the curtain to go, like half an hour before curtain. This girl comes running to me and she says, "Look, one of my actresses is, I don't know, something happened and she's not going to be able to make it. Can you do the role?" And I'm like, "Do the role? I don't even know what it is." It's just, don't worry. You just read it. You don't have to memorize. Here it is. Here is the thing. She gives me the script like 10 minutes before curtain, and I jumped on stage. And I don't know what I did, because in situations like that, the only thing that can help you is your presence and your focus, complete concentration in the moment. So I did what I did. And of course, Anais Nin's stories are all very sexual connotations and so on. And I'm like, I'm reading it as I'm discovering the topic as I'm reading it, because I didn't
You
even have time to read it before. It
you
was
have to take off your clothes.
like, no, no, no. It wasn't like cold read. And I felt, and then it was good. Everything went. 2 days later, it was in California, in Los Angeles. I'm walking down Melrose Avenue. Somebody walks up to me and she says, "Weren't you on stage 2 days ago at the theater?" And I'm like, wow.
You're being discovered. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and we have we're getting yeah, closer to end of our
Yeah.
show. Do you have anything you want to add on? We haven't touched.
No,
Oh, tell
actually,
us. Oh, sorry. Tell us the time of the next socially relevant.
oh, that's a good point. Yeah, the next socially relevant film festival is again in March. We always do March. It starts March 8th with a webinar of all the women filmmakers that are in the festival, a selection. Then March 11, we are participating at the NGO CSW Forum at the United Nations with a group of short films. But the in-person section starts March 13 until the 18th, and you can find all the details, where what's happening where and what films and so on and so forth, on the festival website.
That's awesome. And I actually have this. Hold on a second. Where to go?
You
Yeah.
don't have to play the whole thing,
Yeah.
just
No, no, no. That's just no, I didn't get your I could not download there.
wow.
No, I here is your website, socially relevant. Can you see it?
I can't,
Oh,
no.
oh, oh, oh. Okay. Never mind. So let's see. Let me try one more time. Oh yeah, it's right here. Okay, share. La la.
Oh yeah, that's the festival
Yeah,
website.
yeah, yeah. That's the festival website.
We
Yeah,
are still accepting submissions. If anybody is listening that has a film that they want us to consider, we
yeah,
are still accepting submissions until
yeah.
December 14.
Okay. It looks nice.
Yeah, thank you.
And also, no, not this. Let me see, where do I go? Here. And I also want to share one more thing, which is this. Here we go. That's Nora Armani's website.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what you?
Actually, no, that's not my website. Where is
Oh,
this coming from?
it's from
Yeah,
I
yeah,
Googled you, and
further.
then this is
Yeah,
coming
this
out.
is on Google. The
Yeah.
next thing is my website.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, that's my web.
Oh, oh, okay, okay. What did you
Yeah,
see it?
that's my
Oh,
website.
okay, okay. All right. The other is
That
Googling.
first photo is
Uh-huh.
from the last wish.
Oh, okay, okay.
First photo
Nothing.
is from the last wish, and the
Okay.
second photo is from Absolute Dominion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, you look very young. Yeah, very young.
yeah.
Yeah, you look good. Yeah. So there's no video here, right?
There is.
Oh,
When you go up, you'll see a lot
okay.
of
Real.
possibilities.
Go real.
Reels,
Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah.
all of these are reels. The
Oh,
first
okay.
one is my general reel, and then Arabic reel, and this reel, and that reel. So
Yeah,
tons of reels.
yeah. Awesome. And I have to also mention that You are truly an international person. You were born in Cairo,
Yeah,
Egypt, and then
Egypt.
you went to England, and then you went to France, and then you came to the United States.
Yes, and
Oh.
actually, I came to the United States after France and England, but then I went back and lived in France, and then came back again to the United States, and so on and so forth.
Did you like make a huge effort to learn the language, or it just came to you? Like
Which language?
you can speak Arabic, and you can
No, actually, that's a very good question. I do speak a bunch of languages, and it comes quite easily for me because I I don't know. First of all, Armenian, Arabic, English, and French were taught to me from primary school back in Egypt.
oh, that's
So already
awesome.
the basis at 12 years old, where I graduated from primary school, I already spoke four languages.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then later in life, I learned Italian and Russian a little bit,
Oh,
Turkish, because my grandmother and her neighbor used to speak Turkish and I picked it up.
how about Chinese now?
Ah, I can say Jaijan.
再见,再见. Yeah, Sharkfin can every
Fiancing,
time.
fiancing, I can
Yeah,
say.
every time Sharkfin sees me, and he always say, 你好吗?你好
Yeah,
吗?
yeah.
Yeah, 你好吗 means how are you?
Well,
Yeah.
actually, I did a play in Los Angeles many years ago, The Quartered Man, in which I was Nancy Kwan's understudy
Wow, wow.
for the same role. And she was so punctual. She came to every performance. I said, Nancy, once, please let me once. And in the thing, it's called The Dragon Lady. So technically, I was playing, supposed to be playing a Chinese woman, but, and she taught me a number of phrases, Jai Jan,
再见.
Mian Singh, and stuff like that. And
What's that? What's that?
Mian Singh, what color?
What color?
How do you say what color?
什么颜色?
颜色,
颜色,
颜色, 面色.
颜色.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And the other one, Zhaijian, of course.
再见. Yeah,
Yeah.
再见. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I understudied Nancy Kwan. So, can you imagine?
Yeah, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. All right. So, would you like to do a fast, um, what do you call, rapid fire?
Yeah, it's up
Rapid
to
fire.
you.
Okay, let's do it fast. Yeah, I have another meeting, so I have to wrap up.
Yeah.
Um, okay, rapid fire. What is your favorite color?
Red. No,
What is
actually, it's not red. It's
oh,
orange. It's kind
okay.
of this, yeah.
What is your favorite food genre?
Oh, it's a food genre that I shouldn't be eating. Pasta and pizza and all the Italian stuff.
If you had a chance to have dinner with three persons, either dead or alive, who would they be?
One would be Anthony Hopkins. The other one would be Meryl Streep. And the third one would be Helen Mirren.
The true actor, true
They're all
actor
actors.
answer. Some people say Obama,
Yeah, Obama. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
Obama.
don't have
Yeah,
anything to talk about
I want
him.
to have dinner with the Clinton.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been so many countries. Which country you have not been? You really want to go?
Interesting. I've not been to Japan, and I want to go to Japan. My brother lives there for a while now. He's been living there for a long time, and I want to go to Japan, and first to see him and also to see Japan.
If not actor, what profession you think you will be very good at?
Writer, novelist, or writer.
They say bucket lists. What are the two things you have not done in your bucket list?
There is so much I haven't done.
Pick two, not 20.
Big two. Um, uh, a cruise. I mean, I've been on a cruise ship, but it wasn't a cruise. It was to go from one point to another, but like really a cruise, the luxury with the swimming pool and, the whole thing.
All you can drink.
And then become three times your size by the time you get off the cruise. And the other one is, hmm, I don't know. I don't have a bucket list. Yeah, I want to visit Tibet or China or like far out places that nobody can reach, a monastery up on a hill or some crazy things like that.
Exotic place.
Yeah, but somebody has to helicopter me there because I don't want to climb the
What's your favorite drink?
tea with milk.
Awesome. All right. So you've done so many things and many directions, many projects, many countries. Um, who motivates you?
Wow. Yes. At some point, I had said Nelson Mandela, Dalai Lama, Mother Teresa, and there was a fourth one, and Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi. Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Nora, for being with me. We always have fun when
Yes,
we talk.
we do.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. And congratulations for your son, for Sean, having the uh,
10 year.
tenure at the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra. This is no small feat. A lot of people graduate from school and they don't even have jobs. And this is really cool because it's excellence that only speaks. So,
Thank you so much. Yeah, you see Sean grown up and
yeah,
and Sean even helped a little bit for your festival. Yeah,
yes,
thanks. Yeah.
exactly.
I
Yeah.
want to thank people who listen to us and thank you, Shokfen Tech, for your questions. And yeah, so if you are listening to our replay, please subscribe to this channel if you like it. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Next Wednesday, I'm gonna talking with Sean. I'm
Wow,
gonna
that's cool.
yeah, I'm gonna
That
pick
you
his
did.
brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so tuning in and every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time.
Thank you.
And yeah, and you are 253 episode.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah. Thank you. All right.
You
So
so
everybody, yeah, have a great rest of the evening or morning or afternoon, depending where you are. And thank you, Nora, again. So
thanks.
yeah,
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
bye now,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.